Project Noir, episode 2.
What? Yeah.
Mate, before we start, we have our resident friend.
Oh my days, fam.
We have a resident French here. If you don't mind, could you tell us how to say the name, please?
Fam, you say it the way you said it, innit, fam? Let's move on, blood.
Alright,
We'll be doing this every week.
Alright. So you, man. Now, first of all, I want to thank everyone because the support on the last episode, that was amazing. I can't lie.
Trust me.
We reached so many people, and we had problems with the YouTube. So like, if
the YouTube.
everyone, oh man,
The YouTube, that's another.
They're trying to hold us down. They're trying to hold us down.
YouTube, they were out to get us. We fully had to delete account, make a new one. So everyone, just if you subscribed before, then please subscribe to the new channel. That's all just I want to say. And if you didn't subscribe before, then subscribe to the new channel, mate.
Like, what you doing?
It's really free, you know. Like
For real, bro. You can't click.
Cost no money.
But yeah. Anyway, so just to keep the tone right, I want to go straight into discussion. So everyone, when it comes to because we're really focusing on America today. We're focusing on the race in America and how race has really progressed through the decades. And one thing we want to ask ourselves is, the abolition of slavery is calm, but where do you man think, like, how do you think things have gone since then? You know what I'm saying? And why do we feel like we're still oppressed, even though we're not slaves anymore, even though we're not shackled down and beaten?
I think that comes down to how like kind of insidious the laws are that they put in place. Because before it was like quite blatant, like slavery. Obviously, we were locked up, but now it's like woven into society and the justice system and the laws, especially in America.
That's the thing.
For example, with like mass incarceration, obviously, is like one of the most clear examples.
Yeah, because the main thing, especially because I watched 13th, innit? I don't know if you might have watched 13th.
But if you haven't watched that, you really need to go watch that.
I definitely recommend. I definitely recommend. But yeah, one thing that they did say is that straight after slavery, it was like that was the country's first prison boom, and it was obviously African Americans going straight back into imprisonment, because the way that 13th describes it is that the way that the 13th Amendment of America, the way that they describe it is that everyone has the right not to be enslaved, and they have the right to be free, and everyone is free except for criminals. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like the leaders at the time, they obviously used that as a point. They used that as their way to kind of keep black people oppressed and keep the African Americans and keep them enslaved. Because obviously, when it comes to criminals can work. You know what I'm saying? Criminals are allowed to work unfair hours. Criminals are allowed to be able to
have their rights taken away.
Yeah, you can take away their rights. They can work without pay. So it's like, especially in the South, one thing that the leaders at the time did is that they kind of criminalized African Americans who were slaves and put them straight back to work. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not covered by the 13th Amendment. Because once you're criminalized, there's no
longer free
anymore. You know what I'm saying? You've lost that right to be free.
Just for anyone that's listening that maybe didn't take in what we were saying with mass incarceration, from 1970, it was around, the amount of people in prison in America was around 350,000, and then by like today it's like forward of 2 million. It's crazy. It's crazy. And before 1970 it was flat, and it just
that boom happened literally as soon as slavery ended. As soon as the slaves were apparently free, that freedom was gone or stripped from them because they were criminalized now. That was like the plan the whole time.
And I think it's go on.
Now, just what I wanted to add is that to show how powerful the kind of like the prison boom was, and to how powerful it is to this day, and how much Americans love to imprison people. The statistic at the beginning of the show was that 5% of the world's population is in US, but it holds 25% of the world's prison population. That's crazy.
Yeah, deep.
You know what I'm saying? To only have 1 in 20 people in the world, in your country, 1 in 4 prisoners are in your country. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying?
In the land of the free as well, from.
You know what I mean? It's ironic. It's ironic.
It shows that it is a system thing, definitely.
I think it's important to look at how, obviously, mass incarceration is kind of how they kept around modern slavery. But I think it's important to like kind of look at how they service that through like the criminalization of black people.
Yeah.
So obviously, like in the 60s with Nixon, he kind of started that whole war on drugs like movement. So obviously looking at how how drugs were poured into black communities.
Yeah.
But,
that's the main thing.
And then black people were given unfair
like sentences.
Yeah, sentences.
Yeah.
For petty crimes, for like loitering and petty crimes like that, they'll get years.
One of them they even said in the show, bro, homelessness. Because they said, I forgot the word they used, but they were saying even just this homelessness can end up with you just being thrown in jail and being criminalized and stuff like that.
It's crazy.
That was crazy to me. Yeah.
Like, imagine the government poured the drugs into the communities. They then unfairly sentenced the people for having the drugs that they've like serviced to these communities. And like, so imagine now your father's gone for your whole life. And you've got to learn how to be a man. That's like a whole generation of people in communities that have just grown up in these like crazy ways. It's mad.
But not only with those poor communities, those communities literally have no opportunities at all. Exactly. And now that you're feeding all those drugs into those neighborhoods, kids can only make money off those drugs.
The thing that they pointed out that was mad is that if it's crack cocaine and it's in obviously those communities, you'll get. So I think it was 1 ounce of crack cocaine will land you the same amount of time as 100 ounces of powdered cocaine. And obviously the powdered cocaine was associated with like the more richer people. And then it's mad, bro.
And even with the media, how they, because around that same time, that the 60s and 70s, the media often portrayed young black men in particular as like predators. I think they use the word super predators.
Oh, super predator.
And you see it everywhere. And like even today, when like a lot of people think about a young black man, like even teachers in school, for example, like if there's a group of black kids, the teachers are always intimidated is a word that you always hear.
We got that a lot in school. We got that a lot in school. Let me not bait out the school. Let's not say the teachers. Let's not bait out the teachers now.
The basketball one was the stupidest.
You grow up and you're just like, well, this stereotype about me is here. So, and a lot of people are just like, maybe it's true. But it's crazy to kind of look back and see how it's been put onto us and use it as an excuse to criminalize us. Unfairly compared to other groups of people. It's mad.
So if we're talking media, then I'd like to track it all the way back from, because obviously you man seen the birth of the nation then.
You
man seen the birth. Wow. How did you man feel watching that? You know what I'm saying? Watching,
that's crazy.
Because obviously
that's that first.
That's the type of thing. Okay, someone speak about birth of the nation then, fam.
Alright, so birth of a nation. That was just like, it was a film and it was a really big hit at the time, because it was like the way that after the Civil War, the Southerners were able to like retell the story rather than of the story being of defeat. They made it more of like martyrdom. Do you know what I mean? So they're making it seem as if, okay, we died fighting this cause, but really they just lost. So what they in, but I can't go into it too much because I don't know the whole film about her, obviously. But like, what a very big part of it was I remember one scene, there was the black man, they call him the Negro. He was seen as like very like rapacious and very like violent, and was seen as a threat to white women. They said they said the Negro is out of control and he's a threat of violence to white women. So then I remember there was one scene where there's just a white girl just swinging on some swings, in it, just having fun, just chilling. And he comes out looking like a monster, kind of like an animal, the blackface obviously. And then he comes out all like crawls towards her, and then she's scared, she runs away, and then she's like a cliff, innit? And then it's kind of like, rather than for her to get raped by the Negro, she jumps off the cliff and kills herself. And then that's when you see the KKK come in. They come in sort of like the saviors, they're like, oh, he's guilty, and then they come and sort of like rescue all the white women from the black people. It's just like, it's really bad. It's really,
And that's
really
kind
bad.
of what ignited the KKK.
On that,
Because,
yeah,
on
the
that
KKK
note,
was seen as like protectors.
yeah.
on that note, I kind of want to talk about like Eurocentric stereotypes about black people, because I studied a fellow in English, and even back then, like Shakespeare type, he was a lot of the stereotypes about black men was that we were too passionate and we couldn't control our emotions. So like those stereotypes and views about black people that we saw in that movie have been perpetuated about black people throughout history. It's crazy to see how they're still so like
present today.
prominent today.
Do you know the powerful thing about watching a movie like that, fam? Have any of you man watched like 12 Years a Slave?
I can't. I physically can't.
But have you watched what's the other one? Is it Roots? Have you man watched Roots?
I watched a bit of Roots.
Or just anything like that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anything where you can see black people struggling, you know the emotion that it gives you, fam. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like anger, but at the same time it's like fear, it's passion,
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
All of that you get from those type of movies here to this day, that's what they were feeling then. Like that's what the white people were feeling then about that film. Because you're now seeing your white woman attacked. That could be your sister, that could be your wife, that could be your mom. You know what I'm saying? With the way that they showed black people attacking white women, it invokes them same emotions. You know what I'm saying? Those same emotions that we feel now when we watch shit like that. Shit like the 12 Years a Slave. That's the thing we're feeling then. So with that sort of emotion, straight away, you start to take action. Especially when you're outnumbering black people that much. They straight away they want to go take action because they outnumber them, because they
need to remember
they can do this.
That this wasn't too long ago. This wasn't actually too
definitely
long ago. And because it wasn't too long ago, we have grandparents and parents who may have watched that film and feel so passionate about that. They'll feel that same they'll feed their children that. Their children will feed that. And that's why it carries on today and people feel so strongly and have this view against black people because they were brought up in that environment.
There are people alive. There are hell of a lot of people alive today who grew up with that sort of feeling about black people.
Yeah,
you know
this stuff is recent.
I didn't know when it came out. It was 1915. I didn't even know that. That's crazy. 1915. So there could be people that were born around that time that were, let's say, 10 or 15 years old that would have been watching that film after it came out.
Yeah,
and those views would have stuck with them for their whole lives, and
then you go and teach.
Carry on.
Also one thing to remember is that because once you've heard such things about black people, once you've seen such things about black people, and like obviously it wasn't a personal experience, but when you've seen it to that graphic effect and to that emotional effect, it becomes personal. And once it's like that, the only way that your mind can be changed is by speaking to a black person or by interacting with a black person. And the thing about segregation is it kept away.
It limited
people away from black people. You know what I'm saying? It kept them away from being in the same schools. It kept them away from being in the same workplaces. So they never got the chance to actually change the way that they felt. You know what I'm saying? They never got the chance to change what they thought about black people, because how could they? There was no black people around. The only black people they ever saw, the only black people they ever heard anything about were the ones
through
in
the
news.
media.
They were the ones. That's why media is so powerful.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
what the leaders did is they kept their white population away from the black people, and then they just painted them with images of black people.
Yeah,
images of black people being
basically just
arrested.
brainwashed the nation.
So that's what I'm saying. Images of black people being arrested.
The problem with that as well is because the media is constantly telling white, and is still telling white people, black people are these angry, barbaric people. Obviously, when things like that happen against us, we're going to be angry. So now when a white person sees an angry black person, they're going to be like, oh, they were right.
Yeah.
They got to remember, sometimes I even see other black people saying, we can't be so angry, we have to be calm because that's what they want from us. But we're still human. We deserve to still have our emotions. We're allowed to voice our opinions, and we shouldn't have to control ourselves more than, say, a white person just because of what they think I'm gonna do. Do you know what I mean?
That's another thing I'd like to add. Yeah, it's like what you said with the segregation is that they've seen movies like that and they've seen the way they're all pictured, their parents are also telling them when they're young, this is how black people are, this is how black men are, this is how black women are. They're animalistic, they're cannibalistic, they're terrible. And then as you grow up, you don't really speak to them because you're in segregation. But then when you actually, the only time you actually really communicate or really see anything from them is in the news, and it says, 1955, Emmett Till is he's paying unwelcome attention towards someone's wife. Wolfness in
that was a big story.
That he grabbed her in advance. You seen how his face was afterwards?
It was disgusting. How old was he? He was 14. He was only 14.
He was 14.
And he was lynched. Can you imagine?
Destroyed his face.
And I think with what you're saying about how, like, obviously segregation stopped us talking. I think if we look at, even though I don't really like this argument because I believe it hurts the movement, how everyone kind of says that the UK is less racist than the US. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that we have a lot of multi-ethnic communities in the working class. So because everyone is kind of together, like you'll have white people that are kind of like the man them with black people. So, like, everyone knows each. That's why the younger generation, because they've been growing up together, everyone kind of knows, like, all of these stereotypes. It's rubbish, really.
I think the UK is actually, if not more racist, on the same level of racism as the US. But I think the thing is, the US is more explicit with it. Like, they don't care. Like, it's there, you see it, you feel it. But in the UK, you won't really, like, I've been subject to so much racism, but until I look back and deep it, until I look back and actually deep, wait, when I was in year 8, this happened. I don't actually think about it, you see what I mean? Because you're kind of programmed to, like, for it to be normal, like, so much more covert than the USA.
Yeah. But just on that, anyone saying at home thinking, yes, the UK is better, it's still racist. We're not saying the UK is amazing because it's less racist.
Honestly.
I said this last episode, I'm saying it again, so don't get too carried away. Man. Also, going back to how we were speaking about the abolition of slavery and how far we've come, I think it's quite. I was watching an Akala live stream, and he was kind of talking about this.
My guy.
He was talking about how a lot of times, like, if we look at the statues being taken down right now of old slave owners and things, like one of the arguments put forward a lot of the time is that, well, you know, Britain ended slavery, and so we should still look back at the past and see the progress we've made. But a lot of the time, some white people don't want to acknowledge that black people had a lot to do with the ending of slavery. For example, the revolution in Haiti that basically ended slavery there by itself, you know. And I think that has a lot to do with, like, the white savior complex that you see quite a lot with even now with white people when they go to, like, a country in Africa where it's quite impoverished, and they help out and they come back and they feel so empowered. They're like, oh, I helped all these poor black kids, I've done my bit. Do you know what I mean?
It's terrible, man. It's terrible. Another thing though is that it's as if people want to ignore everything that's going on, like with the whole Rimrush scandal, the whole like generational, everything that's been going on in terms of black people, especially in Britain, is if people want to ignore it and then say, in the US it's much worse, just because people are being killed and it's seen on the news and the media everywhere in the US, but just because it's not displayed on such a big scale as is in the US, as is in the UK, people like to ignore it.
People feel like it can stay the way it is now, because at least it's not as bad as it is over there. That's not how it works. That's like, I'll beat up my wife 3 days out of 5, and he does it every day. I'm better than him.
That's what
I'm still beating up my wife.
You know what I mean? And don't get it twisted. If we had guns, if the police had guns down there, I'm sure it wouldn't be perfect.
Oh, if we had guns down here. Topic for another day.
The way that they militarize the flipping local enforcers, that's wild.
Yeah, in the documentary, The 13th, they were saying even like the small police stations, the police forces fully militarized, like
that's what
proper.
teams,
yeah, it's mad.
Oh, God.
They're ready.
It's crazy. But I want to go back quickly to what we were talking about earlier with we went forward a bit to like Nixon and Reagan type of time. So I'm gonna go back to that. And I want to talk about like the war on drugs and stuff. Yeah. So the war on drugs isn't really a war on drugs. It's more of a war on minorities and black people, especially African Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've got it here because I wrote it down. But I remember Nixon was the first person to sort of bring it about, and this is one of Nixon's closest advisors who said this in an interview. He said the Nixon campaign in 1968 and the Nixon White House after that had two enemies. The first one was the anti-war left, and the second enemy was black people. We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or black, but by getting the public to associate the hippies who were against the war with marijuana and the blacks with heroin and other drugs, and then criminalizing them all heavily, we could disrupt those communities. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know that we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. That's it.
That's the thing, man.
Yeah, it's mad. You see, with that, it's like a prime example of like this strategy that a lot of the presidents, including Trump, have been using for decades, where they focus on crime. So they kind of use like certain rhetoric to target like minorities, like black people, to let like the far right know that they're talking about us without explicitly basically saying nigger. And they kind of say, we're gonna target. I don't know. At the time, it was the crack epidemic. They know that's predominantly a black problem, so they're gonna say we're gonna crack down on that so they vilified us, and they also made the laws harsher, increasing criminalization and basically looking at more black people. And it's crazy because Trump was doing it with obviously with black people, but he did it with when he said Mexicans are all like rapists and murderers or something.
Do
you know what I mean? So he's basically
the war.
He's pandering to the people that know that he knows think like that back at home. I think it's crazy that like this tactic of like vilifying a minority and saying you're gonna basically just lock them up and get rid of them has been used by like presidents literally as the main strategy to get elected every year. It's crazy. Every few years, it's crazy.
It's very true because you see what you just said about how they vilify people. You see, it's a thing because the general population, no one's really smart. Like everyone has intelligence, of course, but no one's really like smart. Like, no
one's thinking for themselves.
Yeah. Everything's sort of programmed. Like, for example, if I was to ask you, you see the way ISIS is portrayed in the media and stuff, and everything. If you see how do I say this? If you see an Asian man walking with a bag, and he's like the way he's walking is kind of like as if he has something to hide. You see what I mean? Instantly, without even knowing, the first thing that will come to your head is, wait, should I be careful? Like, should I cross the road? Should I? You see what I mean? Like, you're not.
I've done it on the tube.
Literally, because it's the way we've been programmed over so many years of seeing this, that, and the other. In the news of people being this, people being that, when in reality, it's actually not. You see what I mean? He could just have a limp, or he could just be holding something that's heavy. But because of your preconceptions, which has been pulled into you by the media. Now look at the way you're thinking. You see what I'm saying?
And the media can do that because it's all a thing of I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
It all leads down to that. I'd much rather be safe than sorry. I'd much rather treat this person like that than kind of. It's sort of like obviously this is much of a less like extreme example, but it's even like the corona thing. It's like once corona's come, they've said, bro, treat everyone like they have it. You know what I'm saying? Don't go to anyone. Don't speak to anyone. Even people you know. Treat everyone like they have it. That's the only way to stay safe from it. So it's like that sort of mentality is what's kept people scared of like Muslims. What's kept people scared of black people. Is that, fam?
Yeah. But that's what the media does. Like the media does it today. Like if you talk about today, we can talk about the protests. Talk about how there's looters in the protests. How the media's portraying all the protesters as looters. And then out of nowhere, you were seeing lots of army, military all coming to the protest, shooting people, rubber bullets. Then you don't show all the protesters getting injured heavily. You've seen all the looters breaking into innocent stores.
It's all about the heroes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's all about the heroes and villains.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Because they're painting the police like they're heroes and stuff like that already, fam.
Yeah, and you really see that with did you see that press conference of that it was like a lot of police behind him, but it was like a main police officer, and he was talking about how the media's trying to vilify the police and saying they're the villains. Do you know? And he was complaining, but then I think someone made an edit, and he kind of paralleled how the police officers were complaining that they're getting vilified in the media, and it kind of showed how black people are literally being brutalized by the police on like all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing. I mean, does anyone have anything else to say before I take us somewhere else?
Yeah, quickly. I'm not sure if you man seen it, but I posted on my story. Have you seen the video that someone recorded on their phone? The police, I kid you not, yeah, the police literally did a drive-by. They literally did a drive-by. They put, I don't know what it's called. I don't know what they're called, but the easiest way for me to describe it is in GTA. The big police cars, the big ones, yeah,
the black ones.
Yeah. Them ones. Yeah, them big ones, yeah. They literally came around up the road. It's at a junction. Yeah, literally came up the road. Yeah, protesters are just standing there. Yeah, I don't think they were standing. They were actually walking. Actually, I think they're walking away. Yeah, police come. I kid you not, in the back seat. They like turn the car sideways on. Yeah, the people are walking away. I kid you not, in the back seat. Yeah, they lower down the window, start shooting at people, then drive off. I kid you not. I have the video now. I can send it into the group chat.
They are a gang. When you hear people say this, it's not a joke. The police
How
are
do
the
you
biggest
know
gang in the
police
world.
are the biggest gang, fam? If we
We're
really talk about
not
gangs,
just saying this.
police are the biggest gang, fam. Let me tell you that right now.
Not just saying this.
That's crazy because look, because what police does something like that, yeah. Who you gonna call?
That's what I mean. And remember, yeah, as much as like some police are getting punished now, it's from like the Black Lives Matter movement. Like like when this stuff because we're making noise. Yeah, they look out. Police look out for each other. Like we said, they're the biggest gang. They look out for each other. So who do you call?
Because really and truly, they're meant to be there just to enforce the law, but now they're above the law. Does that make sense? Does that really make sense?
Yeah,
the thing is, when you even catch them like doing something, what are you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Like how are you gonna identify them from?
How you gonna check me?
That's
literally,
that's how they walk around, fam.
Literally, G.
They happily give you their badge number now. They happily.
With that,
they're gassed on camera nowadays.
It's like,
do you guys agree with defunding the police with what we're talking about? Because they're trying to do that in the.
I'm not going to comment on that because I haven't looked too much into them.
Yeah. I feel like you have to be. To be fair, I do think you have to be quite educated on them because it's not as simple as like on one side, yeah, the police brutality is bad and a lot of them are above the law, but on the other hand, like there still needs to be
still have a
way.
Job. Yeah,
you're right.
But yeah, let me take us somewhere else, fam, because we're talking a lot about abolition of slavery. We're talking a lot about mass incarceration. We're talking a lot about, but yeah, just things. We're talking a lot about ways that we've been oppressed. Like, but these are things like from a long time ago. So one thing I want to ask you, man, is how does that lead to someone today? You know, how does Birth of a Nation, which happened 100 years ago, how does that lead to someone today, and how does that affect the livelihood of someone today? Because it would be easy for someone who's in opposition to these things just to say, "Oh, okay, now it's over now. That was a long time ago." No one who watched that at the time is alive now. Like how do those things lead to us today, and how does that lead to someone now being in a bad position?
I guess there's like countless like microaggressions that black people have to face every day. Like you can talk about the fact that when like me and my friends at uni talk about going for a job, some of my friends with like longer plaits and stuff say, yeah, I'm gonna have to cut my hair off soon because I'm going for a job, like a corporate job. Like I'm sure most white people don't really have to think about that type of thing.
Did you guys see that thing going around? Though? It's like if you Google professional haircuts, it's just bare white heads. But if you
and like also, I was talking to one of my white friends, and I was telling him how like I'm like one of 4 black people out of hundreds in my lectures, and like on a daily basis, I ask myself the question, of am I going to wear a tracksuit today because I'm representing black men and I know what they're going to think of me if I just come in a tracksuit all the time.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he was like, do you know how crazy that? Because he knows himself that he would never even think about what someone views him as for wearing a tracksuit. So just things like that.
It's like, because when I was trying to make it to Cambridge now, obviously I was there quite a lot, and obviously I spoke to quite a lot of black people there, and it's a thing where, bro, like they didn't know if they were genuinely allowed to walk out of their convoy with a do-rag on, fam. You know what I'm saying? They didn't know if they'd be allowed in the lecture hall because there's security around the Cambridge campus, innit? They didn't know if people would believe that they're Cambridge students and that just if they would, even without do-rags, even without specific wear. If bro, you could walk around in the suit, they don't know if. Like they don't know if they'll be believed and stuff like that, fam. Especially because Cambridge is collegiate, innit? So obviously in your college, the security guards may know you. After a while, they'll know you. But once you go visit a friend in another college, like bro, it's the whole other case again where no one knows you. It's a whole other case again where you have to prove yourself.
Proving yourself is a
even at uni. Even at uni, people like they'll ask me why I don't like wearing why I'm always in denim and I don't like wearing jogging bottoms and tracksuits and that. And my literal response is if I dress like that, I feel like I look like a statistic, and that's something I'm not trying to portray that. But
not even that, even in college, because I'm not gonna say the teacher's name, but there'll be times where I'm in supervised study and I'm actually doing my work, and I might not be smiling because I'm doing my work. But then, if they're looking at me, that's what I'm saying. But it got to the point where if they were around, I would have to smile, or they will come to me. And
you know what I mean?
Why are you so
That's
angry?
the thing.
And I even saw that trend on Instagram or Twitter where a lot of people they're saying when they're at the workplace they'll have to smile, or a co-worker will say, "Why are you so angry?" or "What's wrong?"
You don't want to be that angry black woman.
It's not even that. It's like whenever you end up speaking to people that are like some sort of position of power where they can enforce some sort of rule, it's almost like I feel like I have to be overly kind. Yeah. I have to everything I do. I try to explain everything before they ask me a question because I feel like they're just gonna try and pin something on me that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because they always use the line, "Oh, I felt intimidated." Do you know how many times I heard that in college?
The way
do you know how many times we chill?
We were all there. We were all there.
We just vape up outside, and we're not gonna get into that.
Into that, man. Many I think one of the main ones for young black men as well is crossing the road and you see that old white lady coming. You don't want to scare her. Yeah, just stuff like that.
Yeah, it's mad. But I crossed the road myself now. That's what I'm saying. I fully just do it myself.
Even recently, when I see old white, I've been doing this for the last 2 or 3 days actually. I remember I went to Marsh Farm the other day. Yeah. So I was walking back way through Hotka Ring, whatever. I seen a whole because lots of old white women and old white men live there. Yeah. So I see a lot of them. It's like I have to smile at them, otherwise they're gonna feel like some sort of way from. So whenever I see them, I just force a smile. I'm like, "You're right. How have you been?" They're like, "Yeah, I'm fine, thank you." And just walk on. Yeah, it's crazy, man. The way that. What you gonna say?
Yeah, I was gonna say just all these little things are things that we constantly, even if we don't do them, we do them. We think about them, and a lot of my white friends, they say, they don't even stuff. This doesn't even run in their head, and it's a lot. It's a lot.
But it's basically it's just second nature, because that's our life. I mean. That's what we live. We don't think about those things. Just in our subconscious, we do it. Second nature.
That's what I mean. Definitely. But talking about how we're affected in a more recent present time, I think you have to kind of get into the education system, because obviously all these things we're talking about in this podcast, in the last podcast, even though we're black and we know we're oppressed, we still have to go out and learn these things ourselves through books, through films and stuff, because it's not taught
to us
in school. Think about how influential, because slavery has funded some of the biggest corporations you see today. It shaped society as you see it today. So the fact that it was so influential in society globally, and it's had ripples and still hasn't really disappeared, and we're not really taught about it other than that, there were slaves, white people saved them, during Black History Month. To me, it's crazy. No, it's crazy.
No, it's true though.
And there must be a reason as well why they, they kind of constantly teach you the same things in history. You kind of you learn about Nazi Germany, and one of the things they always teach you is, the Britain and the Allies saved the day, kind of the same that they do with slavery. Like Britain saved the day and America saved the day by abolishing slavery. You kind of learn about medieval times. You know what I mean? They kind of keep teaching you the same things, but you never see any deviation to something as big and influential. And the thing is, Akala was saying when I watched him that slavery, it's not just black history, it is British history. So it's not even a case of why they're not teaching us our history. Because it's there, do you know what I mean? It's
like they're ashamed of it.
Yeah. Because, G, I can't even lie to you. I think it was year 12 that I found out that there was slavery here, fam. You know what I'm saying? Bro, that was not that long ago, fam.
But think about it, because where are you going to learn it? Because if you haven't...
bro, that's what I'm saying, yeah. Because I think you were there. You know, we did it in the, compulsory RE and 6.
Oh, Mr. Fahy. Yeah.
Fahy. Yeah, that was the first time I ever found out. And especially the history when it comes to, I think it was Blackpool. It was either Blackpool or Brighton, one of the two. Especially the history when it comes to Durham and when it comes to Liverpool, fam, the amount of slavery that was there, fam. If anyone here is listening, I say look into it, but we'll probably cover that. Sure. But yeah, because that's crazy, fam. You know what I'm saying? That's something that I never knew. And one thing they do is that, because obviously I think I remember learning about MLK one time throughout school, and there's a thing that's where like token one. The thing is they'll pick and choose what they tell you, fam.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they'll definitely hide a lot of aspects of it because. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, because they'll definitely hide certain things that they won't just tell you. Certain things that you have to go out and go find it.
I think it does have a lot to do with shame and also to do with fear, because obviously, like the higher ups that control the curriculum, they kind of know they don't want people to know about all this stuff because they want everyone to think that Britain's this perfect place that's not racist. But in terms of like the people on the ground, like the teachers. I think it has a lot to do with obviously the shame, but also a fear of not being like, obviously you're like they say, they're always intimidated by young black men, so they don't want to be branded. They want young black men to start realize, or black people start realizing like, wow, racism is still, it was a massive thing, still is a massive thing, and they themselves don't want to be branded a racist for when they do those things like. Saying, oh, why have you got an afro comb in, or why are you wearing a do-rag, or do you know what I mean?
So they used to tell people in our school, like, you can't have the afro comb because you might jerk someone with it. I was thinking,
I had an afro comb,
you know
them afro combs with a fist, and I used to keep it in my pocket, and they would be like, you can't use that because it's got political messages. More time, even if it does, I wanna be perpetuating those political messages around. Like, I don't see what's wrong with that. But yeah.
Yeah, tracking back to America, just to kind of make sure that we fully cover this point, in terms of mass incarceration, what because mass incarceration was a thing that happened for a while. Like to this day, you may not say it stopped. You know, what I'm saying?
Of course not.
Yeah,
it hasn't. Right.
America's prison system is probably the biggest system.
Right. Yeah.
To this day, you may not say it stopped. Yeah, and it's a thing where I want us to fully cover what effect that has on families, fam. Because let's say you imprison one person today, the amount of people that touches, fam. That could be someone's dad, that could be someone's son, that could be someone's brother, that could be someone's boyfriend.
The provider of the family. Now that whole family,
that's the thing. If it's a father, like the family has no, because he could have been their sole source of income. Because that's what I'm saying. Because it's a thing where it was so tough to get jobs as a black person. You take away that person who actually does have a job, bro. They are suffering. There's a thing where other families could be suffering too, because that person could be provided for a couple families. You know what I'm saying? And that's so you also strangle the community, fam, because the community doesn't have as much money in it anymore. Because you could it's all well and good starting black business, but if there's no money to fund that business, or if there's no black people buying from you, fam, and if they're all being incarcerated, then everyone's suffering. You know what I'm saying? I want to make sure we hammer in the point of how incarceration in itself can really damage the black community.
That's like, oh no, you go.
That's the thing, because if you understand, if you go back then,
none of you went
exactly. If you look back then, the black communities, they were poor, absolutely poor. There was no opportunities at all. So even if you found yourself one household who did have someone earning money, that was a surprise itself. And if you talk back, someone mentioned Nixon, how they're flooding drugs into those communities. With all those imprisonments, if that one provider is gone and there's no one earning money, with these drugs flooded into the community, what are you going to do? There's only one way of making money. Now you have that one son who's like, oh, mom can't eat. I need to go do this. Now I'm selling drugs.
And that's what the police want.
You can't watch your family suffering for long.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that. And imagine as a child, you're watching your family suffer.
That's the thing.
That in itself, that's traumatic. And that's going to keep on going. That's a whole generation of people in jail, and it keeps on going like that.
Even more when it comes to them flooding, obviously drugs into the neighborhood and stuff like that.
And guns.
When you do guns are hold on, we'll cover.
You don't want to talk about guns.
Let's not start that.
I'm ready for that.
We'll cover
that's another episode.
Another day.
That's another day.
Fam.
We'll cover that.
That's another day. Because
it's a thing where when you're flooding drugs into the system, it's a thing where because people use drugs to suppress pain.
Yeah.
When you're
we've got that in abundance,
bro. That's what I'm saying. They've got that in abundance. When you're struggling, when you can't buy food, when you don't know where your next rent payment is coming from. It's a thing where with this little money you have, you might as well spend it on drugs.
Yeah,
that's where their money will start to go, and that builds addiction. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, people who are working, they will turn to drugs. Just try it one time, and they'll see the feeling that it comes from it, and they'll stick to it. You know what I'm saying? They'll disregard all responsibilities and turn to that drug every single time. Bro.
Yeah, true. What I want to say is what I want to say is that with the whole thing you were talking about earlier, well, not earlier, like 5 minutes ago, about how it's generational. It's kind of like it's a way that they cripple the black family. Is one of the most important things when it comes to like black communities, and that having a functioning family is very important. When it comes to everything, actually. So one of the major things they do is they pull the drugs into the communities, into the neighborhoods, and then obviously you're a black male now, say you're 30, you can't get a job, but there's hella drugs around, people are using it, so you can either use it or you can sell it. You see what I'm saying? So whichever road you go down,
lose.
Literally, you don't win. Whichever way you go down, you don't win, and you can't keep on applying for jobs and getting turned down because you're black, because you know you're not getting these jobs. You can't keep doing it. You've done it too many times now. So then you either end up in jail, or you end up an addict. So either way, if you have children, your children and your wife, I'm assuming, are probably gonna end up without a father figure now in the house. He ain't got no.
And it's just gonna carry on down the generation.
Yep.
Literally. That's
how they have no role models to turn to the streets.
This is what I wanna stress for any listeners that have any doubts about systemic racism, because what we just said is like literally all your opportunities, most of them are lose, and it's not a coincidence. Like these things, like things in the system have been put in place. People in power have abused power and move things in certain ways to make sure that certain demographics of people are in these circumstances. And to be honest, I think I want to celebrate black people in a way, even though we have a long way to go. The fact that we even have the Black Lives Matter movement and just black people succeeding and pushing for when we've been held down so much, I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, real talk.
I think it's beautiful. We still got a long way to go, but
No, definitely.
See, now, the point of them flooding guns into the neighborhood it's not leaving my mind. We have to touch that.
The crates. The crates.
Gee, because bro, that's such a crazy thing, fam. Because it's once a thing. It's a thing where now once lynching has been abolished and things like that, it's now a thing where you still want to kill the black people, fam.
So make any reason,
bro. What do? You give them guns to kill each other, fam.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And with so much poverty, you know that people are gonna start robbing.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You know people are gonna group together. That causes group violence, fam. And there's a thing where having those guns, bro, it just allows them to kill each other. And
that's small. And you got to remember, they packed black people into these poor communities where they were. The proximity was they were so close. It was so small. It was obvious there was going to be conflict. And can I just say, it's not conflict because they're black. It's human nature. If you're putting people with no opportunities,
survival,
and drugs is like the main way to make money, and you're packing them right close to each other, and you're giving them guns, you know what you're doing.
Because they always make that narrative of it's black violence, but when white people kill each other, it's never.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Let's not get into that.
You want to do that?
Black on black
crime.
Because every group kills its own people. Like, it happens. It's just a thing. But when it's us,
black on black crime.
Okada live stream. He said if a Turkish man comes and robs a road man in South London, then obviously the same black man's gonna go rob the Turkish man. But they're not gonna say it's Turkish on black crime, or he's gonna go kill him or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But if a black man does it, straight away, black on black crime, and it's to perpetuate the idea that we're violent and we're barbaric, and all we know is violence.
They make it out like all the violence in the country is just from us.
Yeah, and we're killing each other. So how can we even expect human rights when we can't even stop killing? How can we expect the police not to kill us when we're killing each other? It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And it's
so many times.
The people that are perpetuating those views, they know, the people higher up, they know what they're doing. They know, like I said, systemic reason, they know what they're doing. They're doing it on purpose. But the people that I personally have a massive, massive problem is the same working class people that feed into it and start to believe the things that black on black crime justifies black people being killed because they can't control. Do you know what I mean?
I've seen that so many times. I've seen someone post, can't remember who, but I've seen people post and they're like, how can you ask for as soon as a police officer kills a black person in America, then there's so much uproar about it, everyone's angry.
It's ridiculous.
But there's young black boys and you're killing each other every day in South London.
It's ridiculous.
But no one wants to talk about it.
Like I said, it's the proximity.
It's terrible. It's terrible. It's so terrible.
It's ridiculous.
Because they need to understand, until someone can fully teach them the way that systemic racism really does operate in the way it fully works.
No, but that goes back to the point of the education system. Who's going to teach them that? No one's going to teach them that.
What the education system does, the education system is, what they do is they teach you things that they need to keep the economy running, to keep society running, such as science, maths, and English, things that you need to work so that you're able to work. They teach you those things, but the things that could damage the system, they don't teach you that. They only teach you things that you need to know so that you can keep the economy
dumb us down a bit, yeah.
Literally, they don't. In history, and every year in history, in my history lessons, every single year for the year 7 to year 11, I was at school. Yeah, I learned about slavery in 2 lessons if I was lucky, or 1 lesson a year, because they'll supposed to be over 2 lessons. They'll try to cram it into 1 lesson.
And you've got to remember as well, racism runs in tandem with class as well. So obviously the richer kids anywhere, it's not just like, even in black countries, the richer kids are gonna have a better education than the poorer kids because of the communities and things like that. So do you know what I mean? So even the people in lower class environments, they're not even getting the same level of education, even though we're still complaining about the education that even the rich kids are getting, because they're not teaching about stuff like racism and things like that. So you can imagine how even more disadvantaged the lower class communities are. But yeah,
it's terrible, man. When you put only one main source of income into a community, and you take away all the jobs from them, just put one main source of income, drugs, in the community, and then you give them weapons to kill each other as well. And then you put them in such close proximity to each other as well. And you don't expect that people are going to be hungry.
Exactly. And then the exact thing that you've led them to, you then berate them for, and you chastise them. It's just it makes, like,
it's terrible.
I don't know. It's
you give them drugs and things to kill each other with, but when they kill each other or they sell the drugs, then they go to jail.
But I think just as us being young black men and women and just succeeding and like improving our generational wealth and kind of educating ourselves, we can move away from that slowly but surely.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we can, but we just need. I think it starts with more than spreading awareness. and posting. It starts with education first. Because once you can, because you know what it is, the people that are so easily misled by the media, and people that feed into it so easily.
That's the thing, and they know that. They know people aren't gonna go read for themselves. Like everything we're saying now, we've learned by ourselves. We did not learn it from school.
Exactly.
No one taught us this. We went out of our way to go acquire all this knowledge. That's what we need the same people to do, because they're not gonna teach us this in school. They're not doing that. That's the plan. Exactly.
I've learned more since I think the end of year 10, when I probably started looking into stuff like this, till now, than I've learned my whole life. I've learned more.
100%. Yeah.
Year 11ish to now.
That's why we love social media, man. Because social media kind of, it's like we go out of our way on the internet and streaming sets of shit to ourselves to kind of learn this stuff here. But social media kind of allows us to hear about these stories, fam. You know what I'm saying? Hear about what we can be searching up. That's what we love about social media. Because back then, the media obviously controlled everything. It controlled the way you thought about, like it's about certain people and about certain things. But now we are the media. You know what I'm saying? We make up social media, so we are the media.
Yeah.
Definitely, man.
We just got to keep pushing. Keep learning, keep educating ourselves, keep pushing for success. And
stay motivated, man.
Stay motivated.
But yeah, if that's it for today.
I'm comfortable for today.
You know what I'm saying? I say next episode, racism in Britain, because it's all well and good for us to talk about American struggles, but we need to understand how this kind of relates to us and how it
Wait. Quote of the day.
Oh, brother.
Yeah, we're gonna start doing this. We're gonna start doing this. Quote of the episode.
Don't you dare cut me off.
Oh, mate. All right, boom. New segment. Quote of the episode. Use oppression as your motivation.
I hear that, man. Word.
Just think about
it. Yeah, everyone. Definitely. Thanks for listening. I hope this was a great episode. Couple announcements I wanted to say. Definitely, everyone tune into the Instagram. Follow the Instagram. Comment. Obviously, look at our highlights. I'll post some highlights from each episode on there. The Instagram is projectnoir.uk, and also definitely subscribe to the YouTube. It really helps us out a lot. Also, let us know how you feel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everyone, drop your Instagram so they can reach you.
NARTZ1.
Prince.George_.
Anybody else? All right.
So why didn't you just say it?
Go to the Project Noir Insta. You'll find me there. You'll find us.
Yeah, you'll see us there.
Yeah. Look at the
car. Like everyone listening already knows who I am anyway. From this mama.
Oh, yeah, your big face. I don't know what happened.
Whoa! Don't that's not. That's like. Let me not.
Yeah, true saying. Yeah, everyone just thank you. You know what I'm saying? The support was lovely. Hope you get the same support this episode. But everyone just keep sharing. Hope these discussions can really go out to a lot of people. But yeah, just to close off, I want to pass it on to our resident French.
Oh, my day. Fam, you said it earlier.
I say it beginning and end every single episode.
Bro, go ahead.
All right, back to our resident French so you can tell us how to say the name.
We're waiting.
Anyway, yeah. I'm signing off now. Good night.
Love. I'm out.
Safe.